This season of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Christine Hartman, a real estate broker with @Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, one of Chicagoland's most trusted brokers, helping you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. For more information and to see how much your home is worth, text HOME to 630-797-8421 or go to christinehartman.com or click the link in the show notes. This episode of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Bulldog Plumbing Incorporated. For more information or to schedule an appointment, visit their website in the show notes or give them a call at 630-313-9109.
There's something in me now that I get tired of a certain place, right? I can move around and live somewhere else, but this is my home. This is stability for me. Just like my mom and dad and my sister, that was stability for me, the family. The store is my family.
Hey everybody, you're listening to Area Code Batavia, a podcast about what it means to belong in Batavia. Today on the show, my guest is Steve Warrenfeltz. He is the co-founder, along with Michael Messerschmidt, and also the owner of Kiss the Sky, which is a pretty singular, unique establishment in Batavia. It's one of those that when I started the podcast, I just knew I had to cover it eventually. So it's been on my list for a long time to talk to him. Really, when you walk into this place, you get this feeling that it is one person's uncompromised vision. But it also represents a business challenge, I think, that requires a lot of adaptability because of the ways the music business has changed so much in the last several years. I was excited to talk to Steve about where that adaptability comes from and how he learned to change with the times without losing what makes the store so unique and tied to his own personality. This was a really good conversation. He really opened up about what brought him to Batavia and how it feels to be someone who has traveled around their entire life and finds themselves sort of rooted in Batavia, both the positive and the negative things about that. So I thought it was a really good conversation, and hopefully you'll like it as well. Here's Steve Warrenfeltz. I feel like I have to ask you, do you have a favorite album?
I do, and I ask that question of a lot of people myself here at the store, and more often than not, I get one of these long, ooh,
right?
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one, yeah.
And to me, they'll turn back and go, well, do you have one? I said, of course. I've had one since 1965.
Okay, and it hasn't changed.
And it hasn't changed.
Amazing, yeah.
And they go, well, what is that? And I say, it's not my favorite band, but it is, I think, my favorite album of all time. Not I think, I know.
Uh-huh.
It's Rubber Soul by the Beatles.
Huh.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. Uh-huh. Number one, the Beatles, in my opinion, were the first boy band. Okay. And you had to be alive in 1964 when they were on the Ed Sullivan Show and they started the British invasion here in the United States. You had to be alive and witness that to get what I'm talking about and understand it because, man, it was the girls. The girls were all about the Beatles. Yeah. And if you watch those original appearances on the Ed Sullivan Show, you'll see the girls screaming and crying and you hardly see any boys. And when you do, the guys are just kind of sitting there stoic and looking at their miserable girlfriends and going, well, what's up with you guys? That sort of a thing. In fact, when I saw the Beatles for the first time on the Ed Sullivan Show, I was at the bowling alley with my dad. He was in a bowling league. It was Sunday night, and we were there at the bowling alley, and I went up to the bar to get a Coke, and they had a black and white TV hanging up above the bar, high up there, and I saw the Beatles coming on, and I wasn't really aware of all this happening ahead of time, even though 80 million people or something like that watched that first production of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. But I saw it, and I just stood there and watched it, and then in amazement just went, holy cow, what the hell is this? But the second reason why I think that I know that that's my favorite album is, it has to do with being at a party.
Okay.
Here I am, and I think it was 7th grade, at a party. We're living in Frankfurt, Germany at the time. That album was playing, and at the party there was a girl there that I really liked. She was in one of my classes, and I kind of had, my heart would do that, beat very rapidly whenever I would see her.
Yeah.
And but I was afraid to really approach her, talk to her. I was a pretty shy, bashful guy.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with being an Army brat, moving around all the time.
Yeah.
And going into different classes, different neighborhoods, that kind of thing, adjusting to new environments. But anyway, I got up the gumption to go over and start talking to her as Rubber Soul was playing on the turntable. And by the end of our conversation, like 5-10 minutes later, we were going steady.
Wow.
We exchanged ID bracelets. It went from not really knowing each other that well to going steady within 10 minutes.
Beautiful.
So that has a romantic and special, loving type of memory for me.
Yeah, it's like a formative moment that you experienced. Yeah.
It was.
Nice. Tell me about the place we're in right now, and then tell us what it means to you.
I spend about, for the last 5 years for sure, roughly 12 hours a day here. And then I pretty much at my real house, I sleep and I do some book work and stuff there, but I'm here more than, even when I'm not here, I'm here. Yeah. If you know what I mean.
Yep.
This was a dream that me and another person, his name is Mike. Mike and I started this store together 28 years ago, and we went to high school together, and our first concert together was the Kinks and his favorite band, The Who, in 1969 at the Kinetic Playground in Chicago. Along the way, we just kind of decided that one day we were going to own a record store. We loved going to record stores, and we loved records, and that was a big part of our life. And little did we know it was going to take us till we were 44 years old.
Yeah. How old were you when you decided you wanted to do that together?
Well, we were teenagers dreaming about a record store individually, and then in our 19, 20 years old is when we started really dreaming about it. And then we just kind of put it on hold, and we became really good friends. Yeah. And we went to concerts together, and we got married. Our families got to be real close, and we did vacations together and the like. And I was an accountant. I worked for a CPA firm for 3 years. And during the course of those 3 years, I audited 25 plus different companies. And I learned about owning your own business. They were smaller, individually, privately owned companies. They weren't big corporate entities.
Got it.
And I saw that, and I learned about it. And it fed my desire and hunger to want to do something on my own. Yeah. And I was offered a job by one of the companies that I was auditing, if you will. And I really didn't want to take the job. I was hoping to move out to Colorado and become a ski bum and follow my dreams out there. You know, I had fallen in love with Colorado and thought that skiing would be something I would enjoy doing. And maybe I could work at a bar at a ski resort and then maybe end up owning the bar or something. You know, that's my thought process. And I told that to the company that was wanting me to come work for them. And they wouldn't take no for an answer, and they offered me a good chunk of money to stay. And I said, okay, I tell you what, I'll stay for a year. I'll get you computerized. I'll find somebody to take my job, and I'll be on my way. And they went, okay. I ended up staying 20 years. Wow. I loved what I was doing there. It was a lot of fun. There were 5 people in the company when I started there, and by the time I left, we had 250 people. I was the president and CEO for the last 5 years that I was there.
Wow.
We had become the number 1 antifreeze company in the United States. We reached this pinnacle, and man, I was traveling a lot, and I wasn't with the family as much as I should have been, wanted to be, and I just decided that I wanted out, and so I started looking for different things to do, and so then I went, okay, I'm going to go with my original dream, and that is open up a record store.
Yeah. So what did you call Mike?
I called Mike,
Yeah.
and I said, Mike,
We're
need
doing
to talk.
it. We're doing it. Let's do it. It's time.
And so,
And you and Mike were how old at that point?
43, 44.
Oh man, that's the perfect time to just start a record store. That's great. Where was the first one? It wasn't here, was it?
No, I was here in Batavia, but
Okay.
it was on Randall Road.
Okay, yeah.
If you're familiar with Randall Road, where the Jewel Food Store is,
Yeah.
that strip mall,
I know Randall Road, yeah.
we were right there
At
in
the strip
center.
mall, at the Jewels. So
Yeah.
we didn't describe the space, but it looks like a record store, but it's like an intense, like there's
stuff everywhere.
there's stuff everywhere. It's like a high fidelity style, like movie, what you would see in a movie type record store.
Yeah.
And we're
It's
talking
more
right-
like High Fidelity than Empire Records.
There you go. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'd say that's true.
Yeah.
Because Empire Records is a little like,
A little more glitzy.
yeah, that's
Little
right.
more.
Yes.
A little more
Yes.
neon
Yes.
to it.
And then we're talking on the stage where you often have performances, and
Right.
and I've wandered in when there have been performances. My son and I have watched some things here. It's always great. We love that we can just walk in and there's
Live music going
stuff
on. Yeah.
happening. You
Yeah.
know, it's awesome.
I think over the years, we've had over 2,500
Wow.
shows.
Yeah.
here,
That's incredible.
performances.
That's good.
Yeah.
So
For a record store, yeah.
So you've lived in Batavia how long?
Well, so when we opened the store, I did not live here.
Okay.
I lived in South Barrington, and Mike lived in South Holland. I was 40 minutes away, and he
Wow.
was an hour away.
Yeah.
And but we both eventually moved to the Fox Valley, and I moved to Batavia, and I lived in Batavia for about 8 years.
Okay.
And then I bought a house in Aurora, moved to Aurora.
So why did you choose to start this record store in Batavia?
Well, we took a large 4 by 8 foot big map of the 6-county area
Yeah.
of the Chicago metropolitan neighbor area, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call that.
Yeah.
6-county area. And we put dots on it where all the competition was.
Yes. Yeah. This is a classic business thing that
This
you
is
did.
before,
Yeah.
the internet,
Yes.
really. I mean, kind of. The internet was just a baby
Yeah.
back then. We joined the Northeastern Illinois Planning Commission, and we obtained all this information about future growth and population,
Wow. Yeah.
future road construction that
Yeah.
they knew about, all that. And we plotted all this stuff on this big map.
Yeah.
And then Mike and I we put the map up on the wall one day when we were done with our research, and we stood back and we looked at that map, and there were 2 places that stood out like a sore thumb. And we were looking for where they ain't and where it's going to be. What's the next big place?
You wanted the combination of those two things.
The combination of those 2 things.
Yeah.
And 2 places stood out. Batavia was one, and New Lenox was the other.
Okay.
And we drove both of those areas quite a bit,
Okay.
several times,
Yeah.
to get a feel for community. We stopped in stores. We talked to people. I mean, this is really deep
Yeah.
research that we did.
Well, what's fascinating is the where we ain't is pretty straightforward, black and white data. Where will it be is like a gut thing. You really can't reason that out.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but there was a lot of gut feel that went into, and some minor debate between Mike and I as to where that would maybe be.
Yeah.
And we tried to be objective because I lived way up north.
Yeah.
He lived way down south.
Yeah.
So we had to be careful that we weren't being influenced by where
tough.
we lived.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what it boiled down to is that we discovered that New Lenox did not seem to have that retail commercial growth potential that the Fox Valley had.
Mm-hmm.
The Fox Valley had Randall Road.
Yeah.
And you could see that this really long strip from Aurora up to Elgin,
Mm-hmm.
that was going to be happening. You could see that.
It's really interesting because, I think we've done more than 20 episodes, and I haven't interviewed anyone from over there, from Randall Road. It's been all downtown. And I think a lot of times you think of downtown as where it's happening, and Randall Road is like, you go there this is the way I guess I'm projecting, but this is the way I think of it often.
I get it.
You go there when you have to, kind of thing.
We've seen this happen over the course of probably the past 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Downtowns were hustle and bustle and where it's at.
Yeah.
Downtown Aurora at one time, that was the place. Had the all the department stores, the restaurants, you name it, it was there.
Yeah.
Well, that changed and I don't know what year exactly, but I think in the 90s that started to change and people started moving out from the downtown cluster,
Right.
and moving further out. Hence, the outlying areas started developing and becoming, and shopping malls.
Yeah.
The commons.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, over a period of time, it's starting to reverse now.
Right.
And
Right.
downtowns are starting to become important and significant and the place that they want to put their energies into, and people want to go and be a part of that. Should have never left in the first place, because a place like downtown Batavia with the Fox River, downtown St. Charles with the Fox River, Aurora with the Fox, all of these cities that are on the river, man, the river is what makes it.
Right.
It really
It's
does
the whole
at the
personality,
end of the day.
Yeah.
Does it divide cities between east and west or north and south? Sure.
Uh-huh.
But that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you're from the west side.
Yeah.
I never go there.
Yeah.
Oh, you're from the east side. Well, that's a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's cool, I think.
And now it's time for another installment of Settling In with Christine Hartman. On each installment of Settling In, we'll spend a couple of minutes diving deeper into what it means to make Batavia home, with insights and advice from our title sponsor, local real estate expert Christine Hartman of App Properties Christie's International Real Estate. This week, a conversation about some of our favorite Batavia traditions.
What are some of your favorite traditions, and maybe some favorite traditions of some other residents in Batavia that you know?
Ooh, okay. There's so many. Batavia hosts a lot of really fun events. Bat Fest, for example, like all the different...
Bat Fest is amazing.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a little precarious on that narrow sidewalk, but but well worth it, and my kids love it.
Yeah.
The summer concert series is a lot of fun. The Batavia Boardwalk Shops is one that I have always been so impressed by.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very empathetic person, so when I go there and I see these real people putting their heart and soul into their passion project, I can't help but just admire them, and I get so pumped up, and I'm like, I want to buy all your things so that you succeed, and I want to tell all my friends about you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
I wish I had more disposable income, because I would be going there all the time. But
I know.
Christine Hartman is a real estate broker with App Properties Christie's International Real Estate, one of Chicagoland's most trusted brokers, helping you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. For more information and to see how much your home is worth, text HOME to 630-797-8421 or go to christinehartman.com or click the link in the show notes. I wanted to take a quick break to let you know that Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Bulldog Plumbing Incorporated, a family-owned and operated business serving our community for years. It's been pretty cold the last few days. I don't know if you've noticed. Imagine this. You're coming in from a long morning walk. You step into your shower, you turn it on, and the water is cold. It's not good. It's not a situation you want to experience. And so our advice is to go with a tankless water heater from Bulldog Plumbing. They're the local experts who can help keep your family warm and cozy no matter how low the temperature drops. Tankless water heaters provide endless hot water without the wait, plus they save you money and energy. Bulldog Plumbing offers top-notch installation and service, ensuring your home stays comfortable all season long. So for a warm and worry-free winter, click the link in the show notes or give them a call to schedule an appointment at 630-313-9109.
What was the first time you remember feeling like you belonged in Batavia?
I have never felt that I belonged anywhere.
Oh, interesting.
Army brat.
Yeah.
Constant moving around.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this. I'm sharing some real personal stuff with you here.
Thank you.
It sort of has gotten under my skin over the years that because you aren't from around here, you don't belong.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
We need to embrace people when they come from somewhere else and decide to reside in our presence in our communities because they may have a different perspective and we may learn something from them.
Right.
And I learned that as an Army brat. In all the places I lived, I've discovered that I really love America. I think America is one of the greatest places on the planet. But there are a lot of great places on the planet.
Yeah.
And some of the places do things better than we do certain things.
Right, right.
And that doesn't mean that I love America any less.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't love where I'm from any less when I recognize that somewhere else has got a lot of positivity and a lot of great things happening there. I'm just acknowledging that.
Yeah.
And I'm learning from that too.
Yeah.
I have brought things back from other places that I have visited or studied or spent time at. I brought things back and brought them into my world and my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we all should do.
Can I ask, like, where you hear this idea that you should be born here to really belong or whatever?
From the people that were born there.
And they say what? Are they saying it to you?
Either overtly or by their actions.
Implicitly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying it's not unusual.
Yep. Yeah.
It's not common.
Yes.
Although it's pretty close to common.
Yeah.
It's not everybody.
I moved here. I moved to this town 6 years ago. I moved to the Midwest 9 years ago from the South. So I'm very much not from here. And for me, it's two things. I don't think anyone's ever said to me, you don't belong here because you're not from here or whatever. What has happened is well, maybe it's three things. One is the sort of benefits you get from being from here are significant, and you're left out of those. They're implicit and explicit benefits, you know. It's a big deal. You have this network, and you just, it's hard to overcome not having those if you're not from here. The other is projection. This is just me, but pure projection. I'm just assuming everyone is thinking it, right? Like, that's sort of how I go through my life. And then the other thing is just like, it is really hard not to have family in the area. It's really hard not to have that network. You know what I mean? And so you just sort of feel like you don't belong because you're hanging out among a bunch of people who belong with each other, and you're having to insert yourself in certain ways.
You made me think of my immediate family was as close as any I have witnessed, whether from a distance or close up in my life. My mom and dad were my best friends. And I'm glad.
Yeah.
I feel great about that being the case. But you're right. You know, not growing up in a place, not having friends from since you were 3 years old or 4 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I am different. I am weird.
Yeah.
Compared to
Yeah.
most people because of that.
Yeah.
And I don't feel weird. I mean, I'm using that term.
Yeah.
Just because that's kind of the impression I get from some people that they think of me as being weird. I mean, I would go into a new school. I went to 13 schools by the time I was a freshman in high school.
Wow.
13 different schools.
Yeah.
And every time I went to a civilian school within those 13, I was met with disbelief. Where are you from? Well, I was born in Austria, and I just moved here from Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Frankfurt where? Germany? You lived in Germany?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I would get met with that kind of a reaction. And so it got to the point, you know, where I was afraid to open up to people and tell them. And
You didn't like the disbelief.
I did not.
I think that's the difference between you and me, maybe, is I will call myself weird and sort of embrace it. I don't know.
I do now.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah.
But
and
then,
if someone is like, whoa, at any of my stories, I'm like, great. This is going great right now. You know what I mean?
where in the South you from anyway?
Southeast Alabama.
Southeast Alabama.
Yeah.
That's south.
It's very south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a small town in Alabama. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been here for a very long time, which
Yes.
I know from being married to an Army brat, that's challenging to be in one place after you've lived that experience.
But I've moved around this area a lot.
I guess, but that is, I mean,
Yeah.
is that something? Does that solve
Well,
the itch?
there's something in me now that, you know, I get tired of a certain place, right?
Yeah.
The store.
But having this store in this town for so long, I think, is striking to me.
Didn't I call this my home?
Yes, it's a good point. Yeah.
So
Totally.
this is my home, and I can move around and live somewhere else, but this is my home.
Yeah.
This is stability for me.
Huh.
Just like my mom and dad and my sister, that was stability for me.
Yeah.
The family.
Yeah.
The store is my family.
I love that. When you started Kiss the Sky, how did you think it would pan out?
We had a 5-year plan, and we loosely had a 10-year plan. When we negotiated our lease with the owners of the strip mall over there,
Yeah.
we had a 5-year lease with a 5-year option. So, and when I actually put together a business plan. I'm an accountant, right? And, you know, I was the president and CEO of Peak Antifreeze, and so I had this background, corporate background somewhat. I put together a business plan, and it went beyond the 10 years. And the idea was to have 3 stores by the time the 10 years was up, and then sell it and be done.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but we never got to the point where we got a second store or a third store, and I never wanted to sell it. I loved what I was doing.
I just can't get over how sort of straight-laced the creation of this thing was. It's so by the book in so many ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you're right. It is, but since you bring it up, I got to go back and tell you about a meeting we had before we opened up the store. The person that was the principal owner of the Peak Antifreeze company that I work for, Old World Industries, he went to college in Appleton, Wisconsin, Lawrence University. And one of his, I think it was fraternity brothers, was the owner of Alligator Records. Alligator Records being a blues record headquartered here, I think in Evanston, Illinois is where the headquarters was. His name was Bruce Iglauer, and it still is. Bruce is still around, and he still owns Alligator Records. Mm-hmm. The owner of Old World Industries set up this meeting between Bruce and me and Mike. And we went out and we had dinner. And the whole idea was to get some intel into the whole record industry.
Yeah.
Album industry.
Yeah.
Music industry from an owner of a label's point of view.
Yeah.
And basically, Bruce said to Mike and I, what, you need to have your head examined. You're getting into the business now?
Yeah, right. This was what year, 96?
It was 95 when we had the meeting, 96-ish, early 96, I think, when we had the meeting.
So vinyl was out at that time.
Vinyl was out.
Yeah.
And he had lived through that vinyl, and he didn't adjust, in my opinion, to the CD industry very well.
Uh-huh.
He thought we were nuts for wanting to get into the business. Mm-hmm. He thought that it was really on the way down.
Okay.
And this was 1995, 96. And actually, it hadn't reached its peak yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't far from the handwriting on the wall,
right,
so to speak. Napster and all that was to happen 5 years later.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't that far away.
A little bit prescient, yeah.
But anyway, during that meeting, I'm getting kind of mad that somebody is poo-pooing our idea.
Yeah.
And Bruce, I'm sorry that I'm relaying this if you're listening to this podcast, but I found this to be very interesting that you were telling us all this. And then I said, my response was, I know a guy who once had the opportunity to sign Stevie Ray Vaughan to a record deal, and he passed on it because he didn't think Stevie Ray Vaughan could sing the blues nor play the blues. I'm listening to you poo-poo our idea about this, and you passed on Stevie Ray Vaughan. Mm-hmm. So let's continue on. Let's have dinner and just accept the fact that we're going to open up the record store, and I would like to hear what you have to say about your side of things.
Yeah, the world's most awkward dinner after that.
So
I did want to talk about that because we've talked about change in Batavia, and my mind sort of like warps. I don't know how to wrap my head around how to be a record store owner starting in 95, 96, and then existing in the same place for all of that time, and in some ways not a lot changing with the store. How do you, I don't know.
I think the store has changed a lot.
You do? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that feels right.
I think it has.
Yeah.
But
maybe that's the
in
secret.
General terms,
that's the secret, right? Adapting is really the key, and he couldn't adapt from vinyl into CDs, and then you came into a point where you walk in now, and it's just all vinyl. There's some CDs, there's other things, but it's all vinyl, and that makes sense. But it's more of a prestige thing, and like along with the industry, I guess, you've sort of adapted in that way.
We have.
Yeah.
And inadvertently and on purpose. That's with any business. You have to adapt. And it's better that you're proactive than reactive, but you need to be both. You have to recognize when to be very proactive, and then you have to know when to, hey, let's just wait and see what happens, and let's let it happen. Something happened very recently here within the last 5 years. The vinyl started coming back in 2006, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And I give a lot of credit to the organization Record Store Day. There is an organization.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
We refer to them as the Record Store Day folks.
Okay.
When they started and formed and kicked off the first Record Store Day, I exclaimed to Mike, I said, this is cool. This is going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
And Mike is a little more conservative than me, and he's more proof in the pudding and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And he was the doubting Thomas, and we had a pretty good first Record Store Day.
Yeah.
We did more on that Saturday than we had ever done on a Saturday since the height of the CD era.
Wow. Yeah.
I think Record Store Day started in 2008. From that time, it was slow going, and then it really started to get up there in 2016, 15, 17.
Okay.
And then COVID,
Yeah.
holy cow.
Huh.
We were shut down for 67 days in 2020. That period is impregnated in my brain.
Yeah.
We were shut down. Nobody was working here. I was coming to the store every day because it is my home. I came here every day to make sure everything was okay. I was doing sales via curbside business, or I was doing home deliveries, taking phone orders, email orders, whatever. For 67 days, I was only at 10% of what we normally did for 2 months.
Wow.
And they were 2 big months.
Yeah.
April being Record Store Day month.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Record Store Day got postponed. It didn't happen in April. They did it, I think, in July, August, September, something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, by the end of that year, we did the same thing we did in 2019, even though we were shut down for 67 days.
Huh.
We hit the same sales. And we were gonna close up shop in 2020. That was gonna be it.
Yeah.
August of 2020, our lease was gonna end. We were gonna be done.
Okay.
And I went, well, I can't go out like this. This is not right.
Yeah.
And so we extended our lease for another 2 years, I think.
Okay.
And then 2021, business went up again a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2022, holy moly, it was almost double what it was in 2019.
Wow.
And that had a lot to do with Taylor Swift.
That was my guess. I was like, that's stupid, but that feels right.
Well, it was that and young people being cooped up in their homes with mom and dad and rediscovering the stereo system.
Interesting.
CDs and vinyl.
Yeah.
But physical media.
Yeah.
They rediscovered physical media.
Yeah.
They had gotten away from, not gotten away, but they found something a little interesting, something they could touch and feel.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, in 2022, we sold a ton of turntables. In 1 year, we sold more than we sold in the previous 10 years. And it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Something's happening here.
And it all feels tied to like what we were talking about with downtown and stuff like that. Like it's not just what is old becomes new again. To me, it feels, and it feels somewhat tied to COVID. It's like tied to this embodied experience.
Yes.
We get tired of being on the internet all the time and talking to words. And we want to see real people and go places and do things with our bodies.
Yep.
It feels like.
Yep.
What is it about Kiss the Sky that could only be done in Batavia?
Well, it's Mike and Steve. If Mike and Steve weren't here, I
Yeah.
mean, we are part of the personality of the store, and I'm not being braggadocious here.
Yeah.
I'm just like Daddy-O's Diner. It wouldn't be Daddy-O's without Scott there, right?
Right.
And his employees that he currently has there.
Yeah.
They're great. The Popcorn Depot's always been the Popcorn Depot, but Talitha Mueller has taken that establishment to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And created a personality and a presence there that it didn't have before.
Yeah.
And so people are really a big part of mom and pop businesses and small businesses, brick and mortar. More so than the large corporate entities, right?
Yes. It reminds me of a conversation I was having with Craig Foltis. One of the things that...
Yep, I agree.
with whatever he is about to say.
Yeah, I agree. Craig is the face of Wilson Avenue right there. He is.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally. And I don't remember what question it was, but really throughout the interview, he was sort of harping on Batavia is not all that special. Like there's a lot of special places in the world and we're one of them. And I was like, yeah, I get it. That's true. And it really where I think we landed was it's people, which sounds really obvious, but like the thing that is unique about a community in general is people, and that creates culture, and it is what it is. And I do think that is an important point where it's like Batavia has this really unique culture, really like any other town, but the culture is not like any other town. You know what I mean? And that's because of the people that live here.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. That's true of countries. Their leadership is what helps to define what the cultures are like and the people are like, and the people define what the country is like. Yeah. It's throughout. It's not only the landscape, it's what resides in the landscape.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not the river. It's not just the river.
No.
It's like kiss the sky right next to the river.
And it's the fish in the river.
It's also the fish in the river.
What kind of fish are in that river help to define the river.
Yeah.
There's muskie in there. There's walleye in there.
I didn't know any of this, so it can't be that important if I didn't know.
But yeah, I think I think Fultos, that barbershop, if I can call it that, barbershop.
It's a tonsorial parlor.
Okay. Yeah, it wouldn't be the same if that wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's a big part of the personality of downtown Batavia, especially Wilson Avenue.
Yeah.
And right next door to us, we have Water Street Studios.
Mm-hmm.
That is defined this area here as, we're starting to call ourselves we've been dubbed the Art District, right?
Yeah.
And it's really because of Water Street Studios' impact on that. And yeah, music is art, and we're music, and so we fit in that. And now we have Hearth and Hammer that moved here from a little further west, and they are quickly becoming a focal point and a destination point, and they're helping to define this district here. A lot of what they sell in there is art that is created by artists and people from around this area, and
things made by people. Embodied people.
Yes.
Yeah.
The library.
Yeah.
That fits.
Yep.
Here. It's perfect that
Totally.
it's downtown.
Yeah.
And
To you, what does it mean to belong in Batavia? Since you don't.
Since I don't. I am honored, and it's a big honor to be allowed to reside here and exist. And oh boy, I feel like I really truly have a home. And even though I moved all over the world in my life, if you think about this is the longest I've ever been in one area, one place.
Yeah.
The longest I've ever been there. So this is truly, if somebody is going to say, where are you from? I can now say, I'm from Batavia. Well, you didn't go to school here. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I went to school in 13 different places. So I can't be from anywhere that I went to school. The longest I ever went to one school was college. No, this is home.
Yeah.
That's what it means to be in Batavia. It means that I'm home.
Thanks for listening to Area Code Batavia. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. If you enjoy this podcast, why not subscribe to our newsletter? Just click the link in the show notes and put in your email address. Not only will we let you know whenever there's a new episode of Area Code Batavia available, but each issue also brings you 5 concrete ways to experience a deeper sense of belonging in the community of Batavia, Illinois. Most importantly, if you know someone who would love to hear this podcast, please share it with them. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community and help more people feel like they belong in Batavia, Illinois. Area Code Batavia is produced by Area Code Audio. It's hosted and produced by me, Richard Clark, with additional production help from Jennifer Clark.